for you guys over on the East Coast who have panicle hydrangeas and you're trying desperately to get these big, beautiful blooms all summer long, and then they get weighed down by a heavy rain and break and destroy all of your effort, this has got to be the answer. When the spirit moves you, you just got to film. So I got a question, or actually a comment, on YouTube this morning after I posted that hydrangea video where I took the semi-hardwood cutting in the fall, got it growing, and finally through the winter, and now here we are. It's growing into a big, beautiful panicle hydrangea. So one of the comments that I got on there this morning, actually I got 2 comments from people about it, and I think they might be living back east, because over on the East Coast you guys get a lot more rain during the summer than we do. Actually, overall you get a lot more rain than we do here in the Pacific Northwest. A lot of people think we get just massive amounts of rain. It's just not true. We actually get half the amount of rainfall as the 2 highest states, New York and Alabama. They tie for first place at like 65 inches a year. We get an average of 32, 35 inches a year. We just break the record for cloudy days. We get over 200 cloudy days a year. So it always feels like it's raining. It's not really raining. I got this comment and they said, I'm growing these panicle hydrangeas and they've got big, beautiful heads, but every year, every summer, when they're just starting to get big and beautiful, if it rains really heavily, those things just fall over and break. Half of them will just fall over and break. And well, that's got to be depressing. How do you fix that problem? I think I've got the perfect solution. I haven't tried it out yet, but I know this is how plants work. And so I thought it's got to work with these hydrangeas too. It's just gotta. So if I were to take a hydrangea and I were to plant it in soil and let it start growing a single shoot up in the early summer, and then it started growing more shoots up at the base, but I cut all those shoots away, so it only had the one single shoot growing up, and I was starting to train it into a tree form. That's how they train these hydrangea trees. It would grow one big long stalk, and all that energy would start growing up into one big long stalk, and it'd get really tall. It'd get like, it could get 7, 8 feet tall, some of these. And it'd have one big, beautiful bloom, which is really awesome. But then the big rain comes. It gets too heavy because blooms, I don't know if a lot of you know this, but blooms are, all flowers, they're like 90% water. They're mostly water. And in order for blooms to get their biggest and their fullest, they need lots of water. So that's another little tip. If you guys are struggling with getting big, beautiful, healthy looking blooms, water your plants more, especially during the bloom season, because they need a lot of water because they're made of water. So you'd have this one big tall stalk with a big bloom and one stalk. And then it rains, it just soaks up all that water and just flops over because it just can't handle the weight. Well, on the flip side of that, if you were to take one of these hydrangeas and you were to cut it back to the ground, and then it started growing new growth, and you cut it back again, and it started growing multiple shoots, and then you cut it back again, and you got it to where it had 20 shoots coming from a base, maybe a few inches tall, or even from the ground, and you had like 20 shoots coming up. And then with these panicles, they'll overwinter real well, a lot better than the mophead hydrangeas, the macrophylla. So the growth will survive above ground. So say you let all them shoots grow up one year and flop over, whatever, and then that winter you cut them back, right? And come spring, you'd have even more buds opening at every one of those shoots. So now basically what you're creating is one single plant with a ton of shoots. You'd have a situation almost the complete opposite of what I just described with the one stem. You'd have a lot of little shoots, like 100 little shoots growing off of this plant, but that root system wouldn't be strong enough to make every single one of those shoots as big as the one central leader, okay? As if you had kept it one central leader. It wouldn't have enough energy to shoot them up 8 foot tall. Every single one of those shoots would grow big and healthy and could have big, beautiful blooms, but they would grow shorter overall. They just wouldn't, they'd stay shorter. The blooms could still be big because they're like 90% water, but maybe a hair smaller, but a massive amount of them. on a big area. So you'd have all these cone-shaped guys just shooting up everywhere. My theory is that because you just keep pruning and you're forcing tons of shoots coming out of it, you're going to have shorter stalks, new stalks. The bloom, those stalks are going to be able to hold the blooms easier because they're shorter and they're stouter. And when it rains really heavily, you're not going to have as much of a problem of them just flopping over. It's just a theory, but I got that comment this morning and I was thinking about it and I thought that's got to be the case, because with the rhododendrons, that's the case. I can have some of my varieties will just shoot up from the ground and they'll just keep going up. Maybe they'll branch off a little bit, but they just want to go up. And after they get to 5, 6, 7 feet tall, some of them with the blooms will just way over. But if I prune back halfway, the next year, those lower stalks will get thicker and heftier and stronger, and they won't be able to wilt. And then more shoots will grow off of each of those. And that's how you get rhododendrons to get taller and bigger, because they're on, you're building that scaffolding stronger and thicker as you go up. You're not just allowing single stems to shoot straight up and be wispy and thin and have one big giant bloom at the top. That's got to be your answer. For you guys over on the East Coast who have panicle hydrangeas and you're trying desperately to get these big, beautiful blooms all summer long, and then they get weighed down by a heavy rain and break and destroy all of your effort, this has got to be the answer. And I think it is. I think I'm just going to cut it off there. We're going to try this in the future. As I grow these panicle hydrangeas, we're going to try growing them this way and I'm going to try and grow some as trees just to see how this works and see if I can prove the point. Maybe we'll measure the blooms on the different plants and see which ones are bigger, which ones are smaller, how tall the stalks are when you've got lots of stalks versus single or 2 stalks. And maybe we'll even go a step further. I don't get as much rain in the summer, but I can always simulate that by just watering the heck out of one and not in fact, we could do like 4 plants. We could do 2 that are cut back real hard for a couple of years and get lots of stalks. And we could do 2 as trees, as long single leaders. And we could water one heavily and not water the other, and water one heavily and not water the other. We'll get all kinds of information here. I think we're going to have to do that in the future. But for now, I really need to cut back on the coffee. All right. I hope you guys learned something. I don't know. I mean, you probably learned something listening to me, but I don't know how it's going to play out. I think it'll play out the way I'm thinking. Anyway, if you guys did learn something and you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to follow along. And if you have any thoughts on this, any comments about what you think is going to help this situation, let me know in the comments below. I'll read them. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you in the next video. Adios.